And it's recording. Okay. Let's make sure I don't hit tab. And I'm going to close my door. Okay, well, Kyle, we're going. Let's just get into this. Welcome everyone to the going. What is it called again? Rocky series, Going the Distance podcast, Going the Rocky Distance. I can never remember. I've changed it so many times. I forget, but it's the Rocky series podcast, Going the Distance. I think the idea was, and Ruben and I have talked about this. The idea is that we were going to do the Rambo series after Rocky, which I think is still our intent. So we called it Going the Distance, then it was like calling whatever the movie franchise we were covering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess isn't your Going the Distances in covering all the movies?
That's right. We're going the distance almost with the Sylvester Stallone franchise. In fact, we can, you know what? Maybe we should just call it Going the Distance, the Sylvester Stallone franchise.
I like the idea of naming it after each movie franchise you're going on.
We're going to keep it on the same feed as well. Like, so when we do go to Rambo, it's still going to be under the same iTunes feed. It will. You can change the name of your podcast at any time. I don't know if you knew this, but it doesn't change the feed. Like, I could call it the Rambo series right now, but all these Rocky episodes that people join just because of Rambo, they would see and have available for them the Rocky series.
I have an idea for Rambo one. Where in BC did they film that first Rambo? What's the town again?
Hope.
Is that like in the interior of BC, or is that Lower Mainland? Or
it's in the interior. Yeah,
that's kind of halfway between. We should have an on location podcast there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. One day we will. At some point, I'm going to be in Philly, and I'm going to do a podcast episode or a mini-sode of me on the steps for sure. Having a podcast recorded in Hope, British Columbia during First Blood, I think is... and then we'll go to Afghanistan for part 3.
Why not? Why not?
So everyone that's listening right now, you're probably, if you're a longtime listener of the show, you're probably familiar with Kyle. He's a guest host extraordinaire. He's been on every season. I believe you've been on every season. This is now season 5. So this is your first appearance on season 5, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So season 5, as you know, Kyle, we're covering Rocky 5. What's your general feeling of Rocky 5 and overall?
It's not my favorite Rocky, but I like the idea of Rocky 5. Like, I don't think another Rocky 4 or 3 type of movie would have been good. So I like that they took a chance on it. They didn't really work out because for various reasons. Also, I really like Rocky 5 because it sets up the Rocky Balboa and Creed movies being in the old neighborhood in Philly possible, which I think was essential for those movies. So the worst Rocky 5 was not the best. It was a means to further the series, and at best, it's a hidden gem or an acquired taste.
Yeah, and I found with our coverage so far of Rocky 5 during the season 5, maybe it's because we're breaking it down in piecemeal. Maybe that's helping, but the viewing experience isn't at all terrible.
Yeah. Rocky, to me, never really belonged in a mansion. Like, that's kind of weird.
Right. Bringing
it back to the old neighborhood made a lot of sense. I remember the first time I ever saw Rocky 5, I kept thinking, when are they got to get to like the ring, and when is he going to get his money back? Like, when is everything going to be made okay?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes, that's your first time.
Right. So you're wondering, like, okay.
Once you get over the fact that isn't happening, the repeat viewings are a little bit less hard to get through, if that makes sense. Because when I saw this for the first time, I've said this many times on the show, I hope people aren't getting sick of it, but I, like you, just like you said, I'm like waiting for the Hollywood ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't come. Now that we have Rocky 6 and the Creed films, I think this film ages better than parts 3 and 4. Now, parts 3 and 4 is a lot of fun, and they're great movies on their own, but Rocky 5, I think, has aged better in the Rocky 5 to Creed 2 timeline.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big change. It's a real, like, even like Rocky's personality and who he is changes a lot, because it's like you have the Rocky of Rocky 1 and 2, and he changes every movie.
Right.
He changes a lot in Rocky 3. He becomes very stoic, pretty well spoken, kind of has it together a lot. Same with Rocky 4.
Yeah.
And then in the Creed movies and Rocky Balboa, he's a little bit more of the old Rocky. Like, he's a lot wiser and stuff, but he's kind of more of the old Rocky. And I think this Rocky here is kind of the transition between those two. Like, the personality change for him, like, he seems like, I hate to say this, a lot dumber, and you could say it's like the brain damage or whatever, but I think he kind of overdoes it a little bit in this film.
Yeah, it's done. It's done a little bit too much. I think he went pre-Rocky 1 for smarts.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think it was Matt who was sharing like deleted scenes from Rocky 5.
Oh, if it's anybody, it's Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, Rocky's like over 100%, if that's possible. The R word. And like, I can see why they cut it, right? Because even for Rocky 5, that's like way too much.
Right. Where we left off, ladies and gentlemen, from our last discussion when we're talking about Rocky 5 is George Washington Duke talked to Mrs. Balboa and Rocky Balboa outside the pet shop, and George Washington Duke did that classic line, "Oh, there's a Mrs. Balboa magically appears." And
yeah. He must hate her so much.
He does hate her. Oh, absolutely. Then they're in the limo. I don't think we quite put that in the last show, but they just go in the limo, and George Washington said to his partner there, he goes, "We just need a hook. We need some sort of hook to get Rocky into the ring." So that's where we left off with George Washington Duke. So here we are now. The next scene is the children are playing at the playground. So we see an outside shot of the schoolyard. It's a fence, and the kids are playing in the schoolyard, and I think we're going to see some further adventures of Rocky Jr., so let's watch that. So the first scene we have is Kevin Connolly playing the bully here, and he's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, and oh, hey, look at this, the graffiti on the wall just over to the right.
Yeah, look at
says
that.
Rocky and Mick. I never noticed that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've never noticed that either. Rocky and Mick. I wonder who else has ever noticed that. Good catch. So he's hanging out with his two buddies. The one guy with a really bad haircut. I mean, they're all bad hair. This is 1990.
Well, this guy's hair has kind of made a comeback in recent years, actually. Like his hair's kind of shaved all on the one side.
Yeah.
That's kind of a thing now, I think.
Well, this film is 29 years old already, if you can believe it.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Now, this is my little plea and hope that if Mr. Connolly is listening to the show, and I know Hollywood types, they get busy and they get other projects going, and I'm just a little ham and egger podcast. I'm so far down his radar that it's, it was an honor for him to even correlate with me. He did correlate with me on my personal email, and he was going to call, we were going to set something up, and it just never happened. It got that far. Yeah. It's too bad.
You just got to find a hook. Right?
Yeah, I got to find a hook. Well, the hook is that we are a nobody podcast, and he's a celebrity. He'd be doing us a favor. I don't know if that would sell it for him or not, but my plea will be that if he happens to listen to this episode, that, we'd love to still see you and talk to you there, Mr. Connolly, and talk about Rocky 5, because it's also my understanding that he enjoyed this movie experience. This was, I think it was his first feature film. He worked with Stallone and as a director. Of course, I don't think he shared any scenes with Sly, but definitely Sly was behind it.
One really briefly.
Okay. Oh, that's right. They were there at the Christmas dinner. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and also like when Rocky found them, and then like what's her face is like, "You're not gonna hit him, are you?"
Oh yeah, we're not there yet. Okay.
And that guy was there in that scene. I don't know if that counts as having a scene with Sly, but that's pretty close.
Yeah, and I still hope to talk to Kevin. So if you're listening, Kevin, we'd love to have you on, and hopefully this episode doesn't make us sound worse than we are. So he's smoking, looking tough. And
he's looking like a real badass right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't screw with this kid.
So they're staring down Rocky Jr., who's, in the playground, walking around looking forlorn and lost.
Yeah, in this playground, I want to talk about the playground for a second.
Yeah.
In the school, it's a really high chain link fence. Like, that's got to be 20 feet high.
Yeah.
And, like, these kids are playing on, like, concrete.
Right.
Like, this is an inner city school, right? Like, this actually kind of reminds me of schools in inner city Edmonton a little bit, but it almost looks like a prison. Like, this reminds me, like, almost a little bit of a prison movie where, like, the new person comes in and they're kind of being sized up by the existing inmates, right? Like, this seems more like a dog-eat-dog thing, and this imposing school here. It's a very large school, like several stories high,
Right.
with this huge fence, concrete everywhere. Like it's an intimidating place, even though it's just a school.
I don't blame Rocky Jr. coming from private school his whole life to coming to this school. It's probably a bit of a culture shock for him. Let's be honest.
Yeah, huge.
Hey, ain't you Rocky's kid? Yeah, you Rocky's kid. You Rocky's kid, right?
So the three kids from the school, the bully and his crew, say, "Hey, aren't you Rocky's kid?" And so Rocky's like, "Oh, I'm going to make some friends because my dad's a famous boxer." That's what he's feeling at this moment.
Sure, and I think the girl might be genuine. I don't know if she's in on this.
Oh, really?
But those two guys definitely aren't.
No, and I've tried to find these two child actors who are adults now on Facebook or Twitter, and I think I got his name. It's a really weird name, and he has a dead Twitter account. And it's just weird how these two they didn't really do much after this film, but Kevin Connolly went on, obviously, to Entourage and other great projects, and it's just weird how that just happens, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Robert here, Rocky Jr. is like, yeah, how you doing? He's all excited.
Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I seen your picture in the paper. And you know what?
No, of course. Sorry. His dad has already warned him about deceptions.
That's right.
As most kids, they don't listen or don't understand. So he's got to have to learn the hard way here.
And he says that he saw his picture in the paper. What would be the point of that picture in the paper? You know, family loses it all. You know, boxing champion loses all. Family goes back to the hood.
Especially these kids, right? To have your picture in the paper.
Right. Back in the
would be a
90s.
big deal, right?
Yeah, to have your picture in the media. Well, and now with social media, having your picture on the internet is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think even today, if you were on TV, that would mean something, but it would mean a lot more 30 years ago.
I was going to say, it doesn't mean much anymore. Like everyone's almost a 15-minute star at some point with some viral video or something.
Yeah.
Like even these Facebook videos that we do and live videos, I get, hundreds and hundreds of downloads and listens, and it's weird. Like I'm not that I'm in any way celebrity at all, or Ruben or this podcast, but the idea that my picture or my voice is out there, it's weird. It's something that would have been really amazing to hear your voice on the radio back in the day, but now to hear it on the internet for hundreds of people to listen to weekly, it means nothing anymore.
Yeah, definitely a different era.
Yeah. The big boy, the quiet thug, grabs Robert from behind. What's his name in the movie again? Let me just look it up.
I don't know these people's names.
Yeah, that's fine. Give me a second.
I'm pretty sure that leather jacket kid's soft though. Just looking at him.
Yeah.
He seems like kind of a pussy, actually. Like, that other guy runs the show.
Yeah, for sure. His name is Chicky. Kevin Connolly's
Chicky's pal. That guy doesn't even have a name. The other guy?
That's right. So, yeah, Chicky and Chicky's pal. And his name is Hayes Swope. I told you he had a weird name. So I looked up Hayes Swope, because that is a name that's not common.
Yeah. There's probably not a lot of Hayes Swopes out there, if any other ones.
And the girl, her name is Jewel.
Which is weird because, well, actually, it's not that weird.
Hayes Swope, his only film credit is Rocky V as Chicky's pal. That is it. That's all he did. I wonder what the story behind that is.
Well, not everyone makes it. Lots of people are in lots of movies.
But you think with just having Rocky V on your credit, he would give you something sometime after. Like, he would even get a gig while he's filming because, he's in the new Rocky film.
Yeah, I guess. But he's a pretty peripheral character. He doesn't even say or do much. Like, he's just that guy's sidekick, basically.
Yeah, same with the actress who played Jewel. Her name is Elizabeth Peters. She was in She-Devil.
Which was a year before Rocky.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a crush on her as a kid.
I did too. Because I was 15 when I saw this film, and these kids are playing 14-year-olds.
This is your demographic for sure.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, but I said, you know what? Clean her up a little bit. She's pretty cute.
Yeah, that's like a good investment, man. Like, you get her before she's cleaned up and and then afterwards, you have someone that's probably out of your league, right? So,
she has an alternate name, by the way. Her alternate name now is Elizabeth Fenstermaker.
What?
Elizabeth Fenstermaker. And a little bit of trivia here. She's a teacher right now at an old girls' school in Massachusetts, and her nickname is Liz. So she has enough of some personal detail here on her IMDb, but that's about it. 2 movie credits: She-Devil and Rocky
I wonder if
V.
she ever made it to Disneyland.
Why would you say that?
Okay, there's a scene later on in the movie where he's like, I've been to Disneyland, haven't you? And she's like, you make it sound like everybody has.
Yeah. Boy, look at you said you didn't remember much of this film, but you're catching little things like that. You're coming back to your memory. Okay, let's see how this little skirmish goes down. So they're gonna shake him up for something here. They got him cornered.
Yeah, this is the prison equivalent of like getting gang raped or something, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously that's not going to happen to him here, but this is like.
Well, we should just call it a gang mugging, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's let it play out for a little bit here.
What are you wearing my coat for, huh? You want to be Give me my coat. I'm not kidding around anymore.
He says, "What are you wearing my coat for?" Which is your classic, he's wearing his own coat, and this bully Chicky wants the coat from Rocky Jr. And like you said there, Kyle, the girl was actually like, "Hey, let's not do this. Why are you doing this?" And then he says to her, "Do you want to get beaten too?"
Yeah, he sounds like an abusive husband. Well, this guy doesn't really have a coat. He has like a sweatshirt on, right? The fat kid there has a coat. He has a leather jacket.
Yeah, Chicky's
And she
pal.
has a coat.
You got to refer to him as Chicky's pal.
Okay, Chicky's pal. But Chicky here doesn't have a coat because he probably has a dad that, like, if his dad's around, he probably has a dad that, like, spends all the money on booze or whatever. There's a weak kid here, and I take advantage of him and take his coat.
Yeah, take his coat. It looks like a warm jacket. And in fact, Rocky's wearing a really warm sweater underneath that jacket too.
Yeah, so he's fine. That's probably like an expensive jacket.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's sort of like a $300 jacket back then, right? Like,
yeah, jackets aren't cheap to begin with, and I would assume that it's probably a fairly nice jacket. This jacket wasn't sold at the auction.
No.
No way! Go!
So he gets hit in the stomach, then clocked in the face.
Yeah, that's rough, man. Didn't stand a chance. 2 guys against 1.
No.
Weren't expecting it.
And you got some kids in the background here just watching the beatdown go down, but they know better. They know prison rules. Stay out of it.
Everyone's cheering. Like, this is just like, I don't know what actual prison's like, but this is just like prison movies.
Right.
Because there's like a thing with like prison movies, like guys always take each other's shoes. That's like a thing. Like, give me your shoes. Everyone cheers on these fights in the yard. Like, this to me is basically just kiddie prison.
All right, so they beat him to the ground. Rocky Jr. falls to the ground, and they rip the jacket off him.
Don't get sick now! I'm gonna catch cold, rich boy!
So they give him the finger. Yeah, they give him a finger, and they flip him off. They run away. Don't get sick now.
They said, don't get cold now, rich boy, too, I noticed. So it's like,
yeah,
even though he's not rich anymore, he's still seen as one of those people.
Yeah, because he had a lifehood of richness, and, he hasn't suffered in his life yet. But these kids from Philly, they know what it's like to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah, like, this is a working-class neighborhood that's morphed into, like, decay. Like, it wasn't a nice neighborhood in the 70s, but it's obviously gone downhill.
All right, so the girl is left behind, and she isn't very happy with what just happened. Her face looks forlorn. This is what she signed on for, which is part of this trio. And the 2 guys took off, leaving her there.
Yeah. I guess she's not loyal enough.
She walks away, though, doesn't lend Rocky Jr. any assistance, but you can tell on her face she's not too happy. The next scene that pops up is we got Rocky giving tips and training some up-and-coming boxing amateurs in the ring. And next to him, to his left, is the famous boxing aficionado who worked in the film in Rocky 1.
Mike's back.
But his name's not Mike in this film. Yes, check this out, Kyle. This gentleman, his name is Jimmy Gambina in real life.
Yeah, he actually is in the boxing game, isn't he?
Yeah. And he plays, so his name is, Jimmy Gambina. His name in this film is Jimmy.
That's bullshit. Could the Rocky movies get any worse with continuity and stuff? Like,
they literally have the same actor playing the same role, helping out in mixed gym, but they named him Jimmy.
And he has that hat on, right? It's the same hat he had on back in the day, and there's a pin on that hat, and it says something like "I'm with Shorty" or something. Like,
yeah, that's right, because he was made fun of being short, and he made fun of himself of being short. Do you recall that scene that he had with Rocky?
So it's like Rocky's coming into the gym after his fight, and then Michael is admonishing him maybe he should take a rest, not train right after a fight. And Rocky's talking about how his back is hurting. And he's like, your back is hurting. And he's like, yeah, you deaf? My back is hurting. He's like, I'm not deaf, I'm short.
That's right. It's exactly right. That was their interchange, which is one of the most confusing pieces of dialogue I've ever heard in my life. I don't understand what one sentence has to do with the other. It's like two people talking on two different planes of existence.
Yeah. But yeah, Michael's back after 4 films. Where was he? Because, like, he was not there for Rocky 2.
Nope.
You can see why he's not there for 3 and 4, because Rocky's not in the neighborhood, not training in that gym.
Right.
I don't know. It's cool that he's back, though.
Yeah, so Jimmy, so it's not Mike. We don't know where Mike is, but maybe this is his twin brother.
I'm calling him Mike. I don't care. He's Mike.
And he does have a little bit more role in this film too. We see him a little bit more, just as much in part 5 as we do in part 1. I wanted to show you
more, way more.
Yeah, and I wanted because he actually trains Rocky Jr. for a little bit.
He does. He's the only one who gives. He cares because I'm sure Mike got his ass kicked in school all the time.
Oh, probably. Want to hear some interesting trivia here? So there's been 22 Marvel films between Iron Man and Endgame. Okay, and you're wondering, Ryan, what are you talking about? Well, Iron Man came out in 2008. Endgame, which is like the kind of crowning piece to this whole thing, is 11 years later, 22 odd films later. That's impressive, right? And I bring this up because if you think about it, the Rocky franchise is kind of like the Marvel franchise. There's a continuity errors, even within this new Marvel franchise, there's many continuity errors as they try to piece together all these films together to make this one big, storyline. And what I'm getting at, though, is there's 15 years, so it's less, it's more years and less films. But when Rocky V came out, everybody scoffed at the idea that we had a 5th film in a franchise in some sort of universe. Like, how dare they make 5? Like, how dare they make 5 films? And it happened over a 15-year period, which back then was like decades. Did
that set a precedent? Any other franchise done that?
Death Wish or the Dirty Harry movies did, but they didn't quite make the box office and weren't in the lexicon the way the Rocky films were. So Rocky V, and when it came out in 1990, of course there's Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th franchises, but this, as far as a overall well-received film franchise, this was a precedent on its own, because even Star Wars at then was still only 3 films. So yeah. But what I find interesting, though, is this film was criticized and maligned and then berated for, 5th film, how much do we have to drag this out? But yet now, movie companies are pleading and begging that older films would have such success, that older films could be dragged out over a 15-year period.
Oh, well, yeah. Like, today's day and age, they churn out sequels for everything.
Sure.
Like, kind of the model on how you do it.
That's what's so interesting about this, is now you look back at Rocky V, and it's like not only not the last film in the Rocky, it's 5th of 8.
Yeah. It's been a pretty good run. Yeah, because Rocky Balboa got a lot of criticism too, but that was a great film. I like the idea of Rocky V. I really like the idea of going back to the old neighborhood. Yeah, they could have tweaked it a bit differently.
Sure. It's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm glad it exists now, even more now today with Creed 2 out and Creed 1, because Rocky V, ironically, because of its existence and its failure, we have Rocky 6 in the Creed films. Even if it was a commercial and critical success with Stallone wanting Rocky's character to die at the end, we wouldn't have Rocky Balboa and we wouldn't have Creed 1 and 2. And take that for what it is, but those things wouldn't exist. I guarantee it.
Yeah, true. I'm also thinking, as an aside, Ryan, Mick's gym's looking... I like the way the gym looks here. Mm-hmm. I think it looks pretty true to form to what Mick's gym looked like when Rocky trained there. Like, it doesn't look that different. And then it's like in Creed, when you go back to Mick's gym, it's like a totally different place.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't look like the same gym. The renovations, I guess, were done, obviously.
Yeah, like, it makes sense why it's different, but it's kind of nice to see Mick's gym again.
Yeah, I agree. So we got Rocky here saying, keep it high, slipping and sliding.
That don't interest you, this cup Rocky drinks out of around the house. $10.
Well, hey, man, how I know it's the real thing?
Look at the lip marks, huh?
All right, $5, no more.
We got a deal.
Okay. Excuse me.
So we've got Paulie. He knows about these things. He's selling what looks to be a coffee cup that Rocky drinks from all day, and he just sold it to this guy for $5, and the guy took it because of the lip marks on the cup. Am I getting this right?
Yeah. And Paulie's always had the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
He's always hustling. And he's selling some memorabilia here at Rocky's gym for some bargain basement prices.
It's a used coffee mug that he probably just got from the kitchen. He sold it for $5 US, mind you. But this is so. Here we go, $5. This would have cost you today $8.75 if you were to buy that mug. I don't know. Would you buy?
Bargain.
All right.
It's a bargain. The Rocky probably would have been one of the most famous fighters to ever live in this universe, right?
Sure.
How much do people pay for one of Muhammad Ali's coffee cups?
Yeah, that's fair. But knowing Paul, I guess I'm looking at it through the eyes of Paulie. I don't trust him.
Well, that's where you got to sell it, right? You got to convince him because it could not be Rocky's coffee cup. Who knows? But it's amazing what people pay for memorabilia type of stuff.
Right. Fair enough. I agree with that point. If it's legit, I just don't think Paulie's being honest.
What? How dare you accuse Paulie of such things?
Now, I've never noticed this before, Kyle. I'm just going to mute this for a second just so I don't hear it while it plays out, and our audience won't hear it either, so I can edit easier. I'm just going to go back a little bit here. So I'm looking at the desk. There's a bottle on here. Did you notice that bottle? It says Rocky Balboa 1979, and it's like taped around the bottle.
Is it 79 or
Yeah, it's 79.
That would have been his Clubber Lang fight.
No, it's not 79.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm going by the.
See, this is what you're talking about the continuity.
No. Lang is 70. Okay, Lang should be 79.
Right.
Because the film contradicts itself.
Yeah.
Because we know Rocky beat Apollo in 1976. There's no.
Yeah.
And then they say specifically 3 years later, but then also Mickey's. I'm going to say tombstone, but whatever, his funeral plaque says 1980 or 82 or something like
82
that.
82 when the film came out. Yeah, I know.
Both dates are acceptable. This is like quantum theory, Ryan, where things can exist and not exist at the same time. Like that's how the Rocky universe works.
I'm betting when this prop was made, the maker of the prop didn't think the way we are. They made it seem like this would have been some sort of bottle that Rocky would have used or handled during his fight number 2 with Creed. Like this is a Rocky 2 item, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because 2 was actually filmed in 79.
That's right. That's what I'm getting at. So the person who did this Rocky Balboa 1979 writing on this bottle that's taped up somehow with it's taped up with the boxing tape or something.
All bottles are like that in the ring. Even like Rocky's very first fight ever in the movie, like when he's fighting in the church, when he asks for water, it's a water bottle just like that.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay. It makes it so it's easier to grip.
Right, because they're all sweaty and bloody and everything. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's why we have you on, Kyle. That's why we have you on.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Excuse me.
Tommy Gunn.
Is there someplace I can change?
In there. Give me the money.
Time.
All right, so Tommy walks in, asks Paulie, is there somewhere I can change? Paulie's response to it, Tommy Gunn! Like, why would he react that way? This is some guy they just saw on the street earlier, I guess, in the week or the day. Paulie kind of is remembers his name.
I think he's making fun of him a little bit. That's the only thing I can glean from that.
He's a little bit sarcastic, pleased to see him.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look at you coming out of nowhere. Because he kind of came out of nowhere earlier, right?
Right.
You're like the bum from the dark. Get a job, you bum.
Does it say dark or docked?
I thought it was Doc too, but then I went to the subtitles and it said the dark, which makes sense because that guy came literally out of the dark, between the buildings.
Okay, jeez. Weird. Okay, so now Rocky says time. So these two boxers are done doing their workout. Rocky calls time.
Rich, good friend. Listen to me. If you want to survive, you got to learn to slip the jab, Peep and hide and hit and not get hit, Okay, take off.
Now, what does it mean to slip the jab? Remind me.
When you're defending, you can either block a punch or slip a punch. He's telling this guy to move his head from side to side so he slips the jab punches that are coming at him.
Okay. That makes sense.
But then
so slip the jab is basically, what is it, avoid the punch?
Yeah, to slip a punch is to avoid the punch. However, slip the jab is used a little differently in Rocky 2, where Rocky jabs. He slips a jab, where he jabs Creed. He jabs Creed twice in the first round. And Mick's yelling, slip the damn jab. And Rocky jabs at him twice. But in this context, when he's talking to this guy, he's talking about moving his head from side to side so he doesn't eat the jab that's being thrown at him. Which is advice Rocky's never actually taken personally. Because he just gets hit in the face constantly.
Yeah, that's a good point, is that Rocky never slips the jab. Exactly.
Do what I say, not what I do, or learn from my mistakes, or whatever.
I'll give credit where credit's due. I think with the Creed 1 and 2 films, they kind of took away the blocking with your face strategy. They made the boxing look more realistic, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
So, I just wanted to touch on slip the jab.
Yeah, please.
One more time. Because I feel like some of the listeners are going to start yelling at me.
Uh-oh.
So I think in Rocky, the context of slip the jab is more actually throwing the jab.
Oh, okay.
Because Rocky 2, it was more like that. And then I remembered in earlier in this film, when Rocky was in the gym before, well, it was all like dilapidated, before he kind of had his memory of Mick, he put that rusty boxing glove on.
Right.
And he was saying slip the jab while throwing it. He might mean actually throwing a jab, like slipping it out there, but I don't know.
No, that works too.
It seemed like here he was saying to avoid the jab.
I think both work, whatever context the Rocky universe is. Talk about continuity, I don't know. You know, maybe it means both in the Rocky. Slip the jab and like to give it and to miss it or not be hit by it. Yeah.
Just say it's quantum something.
Quantum what?
Anything. Just say quantum, whatever it is.
Yeah, quantum continuity Rocky universe.
Anything that you don't understand but want to explain to others that doesn't make sense, just say quantum and you're fine.
I like it. If my wife gets mad at me and she says, Ryan, why did you do that? Quantum, honey.
Yeah, exactly. Did I do it, though? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't.
I don't know what timeline we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly. There's a timeline where I didn't do that, and I should get credit for that somehow.
Yep. Yeah, I bet you the alternate universe Ryan's a really great guy. So the boxer that Rocky's training is leaving the ring, and Paulie is bringing Tommy to the ring. So let's hear how this exchange goes.
Rocco.
Yeah.
You remember Tommy Gunn?
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah.
says he wants to fight. I tell him to get married.
Paulie with the jokes, eh?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then Rocky plays dumb here, and he goes, why?
Why?
That's Jim humor, Rocco.
Oh, okay. Hey, let's see what you got there, kid. Get married, eh?
Want to move a little?
Yeah, all right.
Paulie,
Go.
what's the cajones?
Cajones. Cajones. Cajones is Latin for Spanish nuts.
Yo, Rock.
So what was the reference about the cajones again? What are they referring to? That's when George Washington Duke says that Rocky doesn't have the cajones to step in the ring.
Okay, so there's a problem with the script writing here.
Okay.
George Washington Duke says that to him, verbally, of course, and says cojones, which is how you would pronounce it.
Okay, I know where you're going.
Rocky then says cajones. The problem is, which is understandable if you read that somewhere, because you might pronounce the J as an H.
Yeah.
Rocky never read that anywhere. He only heard it. So
that's
why he
awesome.
says cajones is beyond me. He probably read that in the script and thought, hey, Rocky would probably say it this way because he's ignorant. But maybe he filmed this scene before that scene or something.
That's hilarious. Because in the Rocky universe, he had somebody insult him, say, look, you don't have the cojones to get into the ring anymore. This has been playing on his mind since that exchange. So he asks Paulie, what is cajones? Oh, that's great. It's almost he wouldn't be able to look up the word because he doesn't know how to spell Del Rio.
Yeah, he's not going to look that up in the dictionary because it wouldn't be in there, not the English dictionary.
And there was no internet, so the only way he would know this word existed because he wouldn't know the phonetic spelling of it because he can't even spell Del Rio phonetically.
Well, he would have looked up with an H for sure.
Right. Unless Adrian told him how to spell it, and then Adrian didn't give the meaning of it, though. I don't know. Okay.
It's a flaw in the movie for sure.
That is awesome. Kyle, that is fantastic. What a great cut. Deep cut. So we also just heard in this scene that Tommy wants to show old Rocco what he's able to do in the ring. And they called somebody out from the floor, a random guy. Hey, I forget his name already. Come up and do you want to throw some sparring punches around with this complete stranger who's just coming to the ring?
We're ready.
Wonderful.
Jimmy, or Mike, he just got the guy ready. So he was like, all right, we're ready, Rocky. We're ready for this guy, Tommy. So he's in the opponent's corner, Jimmy / Mike.
Hey, kid.
That's Mike's guy, probably. His project he's working on or something.
So, sorry, so Rocky just asked Tommy, "You got any headgear?" Tommy says, "No, I don't need one." Nah. And I guess this is to insinuate his toughness and his confidence that he might not even get hit. What do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Wants to show him he's tough. Rocky would have a reputation for being tough, so he probably wants to speak to that, saying, I'm like you in that sense.
Yeah, I can block with my head just like the rest of you. Yeah.
Or he's like showing, I'm so confident that this guy's not going to get one over on me that I don't even need headgear. There's an homage to this in Creed, the first Creed, when he doesn't have headgear on to fight the first guy.
Yeah, that's right.
But then smartens up for the second guy, luckily.
Yeah, I don't think Tommy does much smarten up in this film.
No.
Let's see if Tommy needs headgear or not. We'll find out.
He's gonna get his cajoles knocked down. Okay. Ready, guys. Benson, go easy. You're ready.
So, of course, there's the Cajones again. He's going to get his Cajones knocked out. And Benson is the opponent. So Rocky, knows Benson from the gym, knows his ability, doesn't know Tommy. So he's telling Benson, look, just go easy on this guy. Just we don't know what he's like, so you go easy on him. And then Benson goes, sure. And okay, Rock.
Sure, okay, Rock.
Time. All right, just go easy now. Flip the jab now. Oh. Ow.
Go easy,
Hey, kid, what's his name again?
Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn. Tommy, whoa. It ain't no law to dog. Ow.
So we're already seeing the Rocky mantra here of, even in this little training sparring match, Tommy is taking shots to the head. And they're stinging him a little bit, but the anger is building.
Yeah, you can really see it in his face.
And the Rocky and Paulie, of course, in the corner, like, ooh, this kid's getting his teeth knocked in. Ooh, they're worried for old Tommy Gunn here.
Go side to side. That's it. Whoa!
Hey, man, take it easy, man.
Hey, come on, you guys, lighten up.
Now, this is interesting because Tommy's not wearing headgear, so his hits are hitting they're stinging pretty good. The other fellow, Benson, he's getting, you just heard there in the audio, he got like 3 or 4 shots to the side of the head. And Benson's like, hey, man, lighten up. So what's going on here?
So far, Benson's just been throwing jabs at Tommy. No serious hooks or crosses or any power punches at all.
Okay.
Tommy is having none of that, and he's not throwing any jabs or anything. Like, he's landing hard.
Right.
For sparring. Like, he's really going for real. And when you spar, you're not necessarily going full out with someone.
Right.
They're just practicing right now. So he's probably saying, like, why are you throwing these huge power shots? Because even with the headgear, that hurts. So, and Tommy probably throws pretty hard anyways.
Yeah. Part of him, I think he's got this anger. You can sense there's some sort of anger in him. Maybe I don't want to spoil the movie here. He also wants to show Rocky that he can handle himself. So here he goes. But
like, to him, this is an addition, right? For Rocky to train him. Like, this is his chance to get his foot in the door.
Rocky yells, it's called sparring. Now go easy.
It's called sparring now. Going easy. Whoa! Hey! Okay, hey, kid. Hey, right now, Benson, time up. Benson.
Smell that, Rocco?
What's that?
The odor of opportunity.
So Tommy's going in hard. He's going in strong. Benson's not really coming back as strong. But we get the sense here that maybe this is a kind of a white Mike Tyson we've got here. This guy's a beast. And Paulie starts seeing the dollar signs. Did you catch that?
Paulie's always looking at opportunities. I think if Paulie had a different background, he probably would have had a pretty successful career if he can keep his alcoholism under wraps.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so now they're still sparring, though. They're still going, but we get a little sense here as an audience that, hey, Tommy might be something we can mold into take that raw power and make him into a fighter.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, he is right. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, that's it. What I tell you? Hey, time. Hey, that's it. Time. Go time. Hey, back on.
So Rocky's calling out time. Tommy really lays Benson out on the ropes.
Yeah.
It's almost
the way Mike's looking at him too.
Yeah, like, Mike's in fear of this man, or Jimmy.
And the whole gym is now watching this.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, because you got Rocky yelling, "Hey, time, back off!" It's there's something going on in the ring here that this sparring has become. People might think this became personal or something happened that they didn't catch. Like, what's going on here?
Hey, that's enough. What's the matter with you? Tommy, are you crazy or something, huh?
Hey, what's the matter with you, man?
So we got something. What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Remember Apollo saying that to Rocky in part 3?
Yeah, of course.
So Rocky's caught that on from Apollo. What's the matter with you? And then Benson kicks in. Yeah, what is the matter with you, man? You crazy? Like Rocky asked him, are you crazy or something? We're led to believe as an audience member, there's something, there's a fire. There's an untempered fire in Tommy Gunn.
Tommy's really lashing out due his abusive upbringing.
Oh yeah, we don't know that yet, though. See, you're bearing the lead here. We don't.
Everyone knows that because everyone's watching this has seen it before.
Oh, you're right. I know. I kind of play like you never know. There are also people might not have seen this for quite some time.
That's true. It is Rocky 5. Yeah, good point.
Get out of the ring.
I'm sorry. Get out of the ring. Cool off, kid. All right, I'm sorry about this.
He speaks of opportunity, Rocco.
I love Paulie's acting there, or Paulie's character and Burt Young's acting there. He speaks of opportunity, Rocco.
Yeah. Oh, man. Paulie, I wonder, too, if he's trying to redeem himself for screwing them out of all their money.
Yeah, there's a bit of that, too. Like, hey, look what I found for you. Look what I found for you. But Rocky doesn't look very happy here, so he's about to have a little bit of a discussion with Tommy about the match. And then we'll probably end it after this scene. Whatever the next scene is, we'll end it.
Yeah.
Hey, look. Going easy don't mean breaking bones, kid.
Man, I'm sorry, but what do you think?
So I love that he goes, breaking bones, going easy doesn't mean breaking bones, kid. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry about that. What did you think?
Yeah, that's all he cares about.
Well, he's eager. He's hungry. He's got the eye of the tiger. That's for sure. He's hungry. He wants blood. He smells blood in the ring, and he wants to fight. And then here's Rocky's answer to what he thinks.
What do I think? I don't think you listen too good. But you fight and you brawl like you was a street fighter, and I know something about that, but this is called boxing. This ain't no mugging,
I'm sorry, but I know I can do it all.
Yeah? Well, not on this date, okay?
Rocky maybe recognizes his younger days in him? Is that what the problem is here?
Absolutely. No question. Up until Rocky 3 was essentially known to have no boxing skill whatsoever. Right. Like, he was known to be very talented and very capable.
Right.
But he is a brawler. Apollo kind of had to train that out of him for that Rocky 3 fight because he finally met a brawler who could beat him at his own game. But that's still kind of just who the fighter Rocky is, right? Because he was self-trained for all those years before Mick, just like Tommy was. So, yeah, he's seeing himself in Tommy, for sure. Tommy's basically the mini Rocky in circumstance, but not necessarily in other ways.
Right. I agree. So Rocky walks away, for those who can't see this, which is everybody. So Rocky walks away and says, not on this date where I'm not training you. And Tommy goes, that's it? Like, you're just going to walk away?
That's it? Hey, look, I got to work with these kids here. You guys get ready. I'm going no more.
How about you trying to manage me?
Manage?
Yeah. Unless you think I ain't got nothing going.
He says, why don't you try managing me? He comes out and asks it, and then Rocky's like, manage? Why is he so surprised that was coming? I don't know.
Good question, because what's he doing there in the first place? Maybe he thinks he's just training, helping out a little bit, facilitating boxers in this gym.
Okay, yeah.
Managing's kind of a step up from that. I think he says this here, but probably never saw himself in a manager role.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I like it. And Tommy goes, yeah, unless you think I ain't got nothing going. So he's basically, you want to manage me, or unless you think I'm a nobody? Kind of like challenging back to Rocky, like, don't you see anything here? You got to give him credit. If Tommy can't be a boxer, he could be a used car salesman.
Yeah. What Rocky didn't say to him was, you got heart, kid, but you fight like a goddamn ape.
Yeah, that's exactly what he should have said. Imagine if he did.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would have worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, you got a lot going. You got a lot of tools, but I ain't no manager. I ain't never been manager. The gentleman that owned this place, that was a manager. But me, I was always the managed guy.
I love that. I was always the managed guy.
Yeah.
The gentleman that owned this place. I wonder why he didn't say Mickey. Like, even if he said...
He's not showing respect, right?
You think so?
Yeah, because he, calling him a gentleman like that. Maybe it's implied because it's called Mighty Mick's Boxing Club.
No, fair enough. Yeah, that's true. And everyone would know this is the famous gym that Mick owned and trained Rocky in, because he was just as popular as Creed in this universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, look. Good luck, all right?
Stallone does a great job in this movie in many ways with his acting. We make fun of the quote-unquote, we would call it the full mentally handicapped. That's just a little bit of a joke, because he sounds more punchy in this film than he usually does, but... All joking aside, there's many scenes, and this is one of them, where it's really well acted and really well good, where he kind of blew up at Tommy a little bit, and then he calmed down because he's a nice guy, and he goes, good luck. I'm just not equipped to manage people, and he's probably still reeling just from being penniless almost and doing what Mickey used to do and adjusting to this whole new life, but the idea of taking a prodigy under him is just not on his radar.
I totally agree with that. While you have it freeze framed here, I just noticed some detail that's really interesting.
Yeah.
If you see on Tommy's athletic supporter or whatever.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about there. Yep.
It says Tommy something Gunn. I almost think that says Morrison.
It does say Morrison.
That's his real name, right?
Yeah.
That's not his name in the film, Morrison, is it?
No, it's Tommy the Machine Gun.
Well, I know, but does in IMDb, does the character have a surname?
Let's see here. I think it's just referred to as, he's always just referred to as Tommy Machine Gun. Gunn is Gunn, so it's his real last name, so that's why the machine came in. His Christian name, as they say, in the film is Tommy Gunn, Gunn. Yeah.
Because he's wearing something that says Morrison on it. I wonder if that's actually his.
And it doesn't say machine. That's definitely Morrr.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Morrison. So yeah, it says Tommy Morrison Gunn. Another good catch there. We had the Rocky Mick graffiti, and now we've got the Tommy Morrison Gun on his belt. So a little bit of life and art and life. He's wearing his own gear.
Yeah, lots of little treasures in this movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, guys, let's go. Come on, move around. That's it. Nice.
Tommy Morrison, the Machine Gun, dejectedly walks out of the ring, looks around. He's like, man, this was my chance. I was so close, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's a bummer. You know what? Also, okay, right there, right where you freeze framed, that's the exact position Rocky and Mick were in when they confronted each other.
That's right.
About why Mick never trained Rocky.
Yeah.
Like about how Rocky was a leg breaker for a cheap second-rate loan shark.
That's right.
It's showing now Rocky's standing up there. It's the film showing you the transition where Rocky is in that manager role, even though he's not acknowledging that yet.
Yep. That's exactly right. And Tommy throws a big left. And Tommy Morrison, the real-life boxer that he is, had an incredible left hook. Is that not right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so both him and Rocky are kind of having the Morrison now and the Rocky from 20 years earlier, or
15
not quite
years.
15 years earlier, same type of freak out.
Yeah, and is that interesting, though, that there's 15 years between Rocky 1 and Rocky 5, or actually 14 years. I think Rocky 1 came out in 76, and this came in 1990. So 14, that's it, 14 years, okay? It seems like when this came out back in 1990, it seemed like 1976 was 30 years ago at the time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas between Rocky 5 and today, that's 29 years.
No, it's double. Yeah.
So it's weird to think that there's more time that has passed now between us now and us talking about the film that came out in 1990 than when this film came out in 1990 to the original. But I remember seeing this, it seemed like this was such, just generations and generations later, we got Rocky 5 after the original.
It's funny. My wife and I are having this pretty much exact conversation this morning about when you're young, the passage of time seems a lot different. Like, for example, from K to 12, that 12-year time seems like forever. Like, how much has changed from K to 12
Yeah,
in your life? But then 12 years ago right now was 2007.
Yep.
That doesn't seem long ago at all, right?
It seems like yesterday. Yeah.
One of the reasons why 1976 seemed a long time for you was probably because of your age at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I think you're going to say something else. Yeah, I agree. Tommy takes a big left hook to the bag in anger. Rocky's watching it the same way that Mick watched him leave the gym dejected.
All right, you guys, come on. No cheap shots. Move it around.
So he gives one last look to Tommy when he's leaving, brushes his brow, and there's a little bit of hint where we're seeing as a viewer that Rocky's sizing him up a little bit as he leaves, that even he might not think he's quite done with him yet.
Yeah, Rocky's conflicted, I think.
There you go.
I think Rocky, part of him wants to do this, part of him doesn't.
Yeah.
Plus, I think by managing Tommy and taking on that Mick role, that's kind of fully acknowledging that the show's over for you. Even though that is the case, sometimes you can be in a little bit of denial about stuff like that. When you are now training another boxer like it's pretty clear at that point that like you're not going in the ring again. Even though he in fact did, but no one would have predicted that.
No, and to be fair, though, at the time, yeah, we thought this was the end, and Stallone did too, and so did Rocky. But little did we know until years later that even here, so we see that Rocky 5 has some stuff in the basement still.
Well, and interesting, speaking of time, the time between Rocky Balboa in this movie is slightly longer than the time between this movie and the original.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know. So 14 years passed between Rocky 1 and Rocky 5. We get 5 films in that period. Then between Rocky Balboa and Rocky 5, it's 16 years.
Yeah, that is just nuts.
Is that weird? And I remember when they made Rocky Balboa, or when it was announced, I'm like, oof, I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, I was a little apprehensive. I remember actually I had a trip to Philadelphia booked already. I booked it before Rocky Balboa came out, and then I watched Rocky Balboa, and man, I just had to go. Like, that trip took forever after that movie because it got me so pumped to go there.
Right. That's awesome. Okay, well, Kyle, this has been an absolute joy, as always. Thank you for coming on and guest hosting with me. I should have mentioned that Ruben was unable to make it for this recording. I've mentioned before 100 times on our show that it's just life is busy. He works like 6 to 7 days a week, the poor guy, if you can believe it. Just me being in the Navy and all that good stuff. And we just want to still get the product out there. And you've guest hosted enough that I think our listeners would be just as happy, or not just as happy. I'm sure they would love Ruben more than you. No, but they
would. They would. I'm sure some of your audience likes me, and some of them probably hate me.
You know, it's weird. I've never done a poll before because I've had other guest hosts on, and I would never do that to any of my guests. But here's a little bit speaking of behind the curtain. When I get stats of the show, that I get, download counts, right? And the download count is completely not linear. It doesn't make sense. The consistency of one episode and the number for the next episode, the one before, it's like, what are people listening for? Sometimes it might be the guest host. It's like, are people listening if it's just me, Ruben? Are people listening to the interviews? Are people listening to ones that don't have guest hosts or do have guest hosts? So yeah, do people hate Ruben? They only listen to the ones that Ruben isn't on? Because I'm on every single episode. So I'm always confused. Because for me, when I am a fan of a podcast, I listen to 90% of my podcasts I listen to, because I listen to about 20 of them. I would say I listen to about 90% of their whole, if not 100% of their whole podcast. I'm a purist. I'll start at the beginning and I listen to the whole journey. Any insight why you think that might be? Where it's just a weirdly, and people will download, like I'll get look today, episode 52 was downloaded twice, let's say, and like, why? Where did they listen to the first 50? Like, why episode 52? Like, it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I would say that a lot of people who start podcasts don't go to the beginning like you. So if you get new people coming on, they'll likely tack on to certain episodes. I'm guessing it might have something to do with like some films are more popular than others.
Yeah, I
like
noticed that too.
Like, I would guess that your Rocky 4 ones got more hits.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to judge that now. Against Rocky 5 because Rocky 4 has been out longer, so people have
or against Rocky 3 though. Like, which got more, 3 or 4?
Oh, that'd be interesting to see. So if I go to my show stats right now, I'm in the Worst of the Best podcast. Speaking of which, if you're listening to my show and you like the cut of my jib and you want to hear more of Ryan and Ruben, go check out our other podcast. Put it this way, there's 10 to 1 listener between this one and our other podcast. So our other podcast is called The Worst of the Best Podcast. So again, it's called The Worst of the Best Podcast. It can be found on every podcast app, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, The Worst of the Best Podcast, and on every podcast app. And what Ruben and I do is we take lists. Essentially, we just take the best of lists, like the top 10 chip flavors, or the top 10 Tom Hanks movies, or the top 10 Tom Cruise movies in box office, right? So we don't choose what's the best. We just pick what we think is the worst of that best list. Is that the easiest way to explain it, I think? I think it's fun because it's a variety of topics, and not just Rocky, but you don't have to be a fan of anything. You just have to be a fan of lists.
Who isn't a fan of lists?
Everybody loves a list. So check that out.
You don't like a list? There's something wrong with
Have you ever heard that show, Kyle?
The Worst of the Best podcast?
Yeah.
Yes, I have listened to episodes.
Okay. So there you go. And the beauty of that one is I understand why people might download one over the other, because there might be people who don't know anything or hate Tom Hanks, let's say. So they don't want to listen to a whole episode on Tom Hanks. And I understand that. Or we do a food episode and people are like, oh, I don't want to hear about them talk about food. That one I can understand, different downloads. Like some of our biggest downloads were like the episodes we did on Guns N' Roses and Metallica. Those are in Pearl Jam because they're very popular bands. So they come up in Spotify, right? People are like, oh, is there a So people like, oh, but our hope always is that if they like the way we talked about Pearl Jam, maybe they'll like the way we talk about Bruce Springsteen, even though they don't have to be a fan of it, if that makes sense. But if you're a fan of a certain band, you'll like it a little bit more. Because Ruben and I have a lot of nuggets and jokes that we do that have nothing to do with the topic we're talking about. So it's kind of like the backdrop of us just talking at the same time.
Well, Ryan, in this social media age, you really got to do stuff to stand out. And so, like, you might have to leak a sex tape or something.
Yeah.
Kind of get your thing out there. So,
literally.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that, I assure you. Nobody wants to see that.
I wouldn't say no one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always somebody.
Oh, yeah, I guess there's always somebody. Let's take a look here. I'm actually just looking at season. So I would say season 3. There we go. So that's season 3. You know, season 3 and 4 are pretty on par for downloads.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, and our last, like, let's say our last 10. Like season 5, so Rocky 5, season 5 started with episode 101. This is going to be episode 114. I would say the Rocky 5 discussions are pretty good. So it looks like people are turning up a little bit more just for the Rocky 5 discussion more than the non-Rocky 5. So it looks like people do just want to... There's a majority of listeners that like just the strict breaking down Rocky 5 talk. There's a little bit less downloads on the interviews for Rocky for season 5.
Rocky 5 is like the controversial one too. So it's like I could see why people would want to listen more to that one.
Sure. And we haven't been playing hard on it, so maybe people are getting bored too, because we're actually not just ragging on it. There's a lot of podcasts you can listen out there. You probably just search Rocky 5, and I'm sure there's a few out there who just take one episode just to rip on it. But there's a lot to talk about, as we did with this one. There's a lot to talk about, and we hope people are enjoying our actual real breakdown of this film without just saying it's a piece of crap. It's a piece of crap. There is stuff there.
It's too easy to say that. Yeah, like you say, oh, Rocky 5's the sucky one. Well, why?
Sure.
Like there's a lot going on there, and even if as a whole you don't really like the movie, like there's certainly some good parts in Rocky 5.
Yeah, and I think we did a good job in this episode doing just that. Talking about Rocky's exchange with Tommy in the ring there, the confliction that he had, but then the silliness that the Jimmy Gambina is literally playing two characters in the same franchise.
Man, that pisses me off. I got so mad when I saw that.
I'm surprised you didn't know that. I've known that for years, that he played Jimmy and Mike, though it's literally the
Well, I never looked at the credits that closely, and did they say Jimmy?
Yeah, it says Jimmy, and then Jimmy Gambina plays a guy named Mike in part 1, and they call him Mike. So I don't know if they actually call him by name during the film, so the IMDb creditor might have just called him Jimmy. So as we were watching the film, we'll see if he's ever referred to as Jimmy or Mike by a character.
Yeah, because we know for sure he's called Michael in the first film.
Yeah.
And if they don't call him Jimmy in Rocky 5, I'm prone to reject IMDb.
Yeah, I actually found, I don't know if you listened to, I did an interview with a comedian, author, actor, screenwriter, Michael Galbert on episode 112. And I talked to him about his screen credits, and he informed me that IMDb inputters aren't held to any real standard. That it's like Wikipedia.
Sure. We should check the credits.
Oh, right, the film credits.
The film credits are the deciding factor, right? Whatever they say in the film credits, you have to go with. But, I forgot that they have this cool montage of all the films in the credits.
So we're skipping ahead here. Here we go. Drum roll, please.
Okay.
Broken heart.
Yeah, Jimmy. They call him Jimmy.
Son of a bitch. That is just wrong.
It's Jimmy. James Gambina.
Who? I'm sorry, you could edit this on. Who that up? Who was the,
That is, it's the same actor in part 1 and 5 doing the same role, being a helper in the gym, but he's two characters.
Did he know he was named Jimmy? Because I think he might have been like, excuse me. I was actually named Michael in the first film. Maybe we should try and get the name right.
That is hilarious. I would like to talk to Jimmy. I know he's still alive, but I will say for the record, I've heard an interview that he did on another Stallone podcast, and the guy is a loose cannon.
Is he really?
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
Like in a bad way, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and he crap talks Stallone and stuff, so I don't want him on the show.
Yeah.
I did try to get a hold of Delia Shepard here, who plays Karen. I'm still gonna try. She's the Buxomy girl.
Oh, like the redhead one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to get a hold of her. Still trying because I think she'd be fun to talk to. You know that I talked to Richard Gant there, George W. Duke, the actor that played that.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, and I've talked to Tommy Morrison's widow. Unfortunately, couldn't talk to him. I guarantee you, if Tommy was alive, I bet you I'd be able to talk to him.
You think so? That'd be
so.
sweet.
I think so, and it breaks my
Like
heart.
that guy was heavyweight champion. Like that's a big deal.
I think I would have gotten him. And the way that I was talking to Tommy's widow, Trisha, it seems like he would have been approachable.
Yeah, like he was a nice guy in real life. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's too bad that didn't work out. Obviously for his loss and just the lost opportunity to talk to him, but I just didn't. He didn't pass away too long ago. I mean, podcasts were out, but I just wasn't doing it in 07 or 08 whenever he passed.
I have a part you probably wouldn't want to play on the audio that you release.
Sure, I can edit it out, but go ahead and say it.
There is a pretty well-known adult film star named Tommy Gunn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm just going to Google it. Just give me a second here. Tommy Gunn, adult film. I don't want to write the word porn. Adult film star. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, oh, there he is. Tommy Gunn. Okay, let's just Wikipedia has him, so let's just read about it. And then we won't have to see anything inappropriate. So his early years. So Tommy Gunn early years. During his early years, Tommy grew interested in sports, BMW bicycles, motorcycles, and soccer. He was shy around girls for quite some time until he noticed how girls were interested in bigger and buffer guys. So he took up bodybuilding. He entered a hot body contest in a local bar. And although he lost the contest, he's got his own going the distance story here. And although he lost the contest, he met a man who offered him work as a stripper. And so then for 10 years, Tommy worked as a male stripper, traveling all over the country and the world. Okay, all right. But he began his career pornographic films in 2004. So he was actually doing pornography when Tommy Morrison was still alive.
Yeah, and he has been in 2,500 pornographic videos.
He has a website, TommyGunn.com, if you want to go see that. He's been divorced twice, go figure. He is from New Jersey. He's 51 currently, and his born or Christian name is Thomas Joseph Strata. He's actually born where my good friend Doug Greenberg, who co-hosts on the show and I do the Still On Podcast Network with, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that's where Doug is from.
Maybe they know each other.
They might know each other. I wonder if... We often call Doug.
Yeah.
We call Doug Big Gun Doug, so I'm sure they probably run in the same circles.
I think Tommy probably is also called Big Gun Tommy in a different way.
I'm sure. In 2007, Gunn appeared in the music video for "The Moneymaker" by American indie rock band Rilo Kiley. Okay, and he also appeared in the music video "Too Drunk" by the band Buck Cherry. And he also appeared, here's a Rocky V connection. He appeared on an episode of Entourage, which stars Kevin Connolly, who starred as Chicky in Rocky V.
No way.
There you go, everyone. We made it go full circle.
Oh, also, speaking of Tommy Gunn, Ryan, I don't know if they have these in Victoria, but here in Edmonton, there's lots of barber shops called Tommy Gunn.
Yes, they do have those here too in Victoria. Yes, they do.
I don't know if that's a Canadian chain or if it's in the U.S. too, but I always get a kick out of that because it's named after this character and also an adult film star.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, well, that was a fun discussion. Thanks, Kyle. As always, it's a pleasure. And I want to say before we close, did you guys get more snow today?
I'm going to show you something, okay?
Okay.
See how well you can see this.
Wait 1 second.
We have a solarium here. There's a bunch of stuff on the windows, but could you see outside?
There's the snow. That's terrible.
Yeah, we got like 5 or 10 centimeters.
So the news was true. That wasn't fake news.
Yeah, we thought just Calgary was going to get it, but we got it too. And it was really like the grass is getting green and stuff. You guys have probably had it all year, but
I've already had to mow my lawn twice.
Usually in Edmonton now, we're just getting into spring. That happens sometimes here.
All right, man. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Anytime.
All right. Well, I'll probably use you again. Don't you worry. All right. Have a good day, Kyle. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, you too, Ryan. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.